Hello and welcome to Tectonic Takes, part of the Beautiful Game Network, sponsored by Roughneck Scarves. I'm one of your co-hosts, Ivan Ornelas, and I'm here with Fabian and Will. My question for both of you is, if Halloween was normal this year, as if there was no pandemic, COVID was dealt with, or didn't exist to begin with, what would you dress up as? And I want to know real quick, one maybe San Jose Earthquakes themed costume, like maybe a player or a coach you would dress up as, and then one costume of anything else. Go ahead, Favi.
All right, so if I had to dress up as a Quakes person, I think my best shot would be like, I want to say Michael Starre. I mean, I could probably pull that off, but no one would know who I am. But I think that would be my costume. And then if it was regular, I think my wife is pregnant, so I think we would do like an avocado for her, and then myself a toast. So we could be like avocado toast or something like that.
Aw,
that's
about you, Will?
Definitely, if I was going to do it quick, I would try to pull off on Matias Almeida. Get the purple sweatshirt, or the purple sweater, and get the hair. No, like I said, I don't think anyone would look like, I wouldn't look good as Matias, but like I'll try my best.
You got to get your bling though.
I know. I would get the fake bling, 99-cent store bling. Like, we good.
The Folex.
Yeah. And then, I'll have to run it back to what Favi used to be when we worked together. Remember at 24, bro? The Teletubby?
The Teletubby. Yeah, dude. Bring it back. I think you still have it.
Yeah.
What about you, Ivan?
My choices, if for San Jose Earthquakes player, it's got to be Steven Lenhard. Get a blonde wig and a Quakes jersey. Like, that'll be one of the more recognizable choices within San Jose Earthquakes fans, at least. And for a general costume, you can't go wrong with being a Pokemon trainer. I got an Ash Ketchum hat. I got the attire, so it's pretty fun.
Shout out Japan, dude. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, thank you, Japan.
Yeah, it's funny. I'm out here in Japan, and there's actually a lot of Pokemon stuff. You can buy a bread that's Pokemon. You can buy milk that's Pokemon. It's actually kind of crazy. Yeah, it's so much Pokemon out here you wouldn't even know.
Yeah, I remember like when I was younger, when Pokemon was at its height of popularity in the United States, that there was like Pokemon mac and cheese, or like there would be like the shape of Pokemon outlines. It'd be like a cereal. There'd be the Burger King toys. Like, that's what it feels like in Japan. Like even now.
No, definitely. Yeah, a lot more than I expected. But back to the Quakes, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All right. So basically, I want to thank all of our Patreoners or all of our supporters on Patreon, and every single person that supports us in a certain way. Ivan wants to go ahead, and we started this podcast to make sure that we felt like the Quakes fandom and the Quakes fans had an outlet, and we want to thank everybody that has participated in questions and that always ask us questions for us to answer. And we wouldn't be here without you guys. So please keep it coming, and thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Through this podcast, I'm realizing one of my dreams of both writing and podcasting about sports, which is something that's been a constant in my life. And I'm glad to be able to share this with everyone who listens.
Yeah, so big Quakes news coming out of LAFC camp today. LAFC basically had 2 additional confirmed positive COVID-19 cases. KCBS, I believe, just reported that it was 3. So we have definitely some news coming up. Will this game even happen? What do you guys think? Do you think we see a game or no? Will, start with you.
I mean, I assume they're going to have to do more testing and advance all the testing that they're going to try to do. There's a great possibility that they will cancel this game. But I would think more of the question is, if they do, will it be made up?
Yeah, definitely. I guess, Ivan, you kind of know if it'll be made up, right? There's another time slot that available?
I initially thought so because the last game for the regular season, it's on the weekend of November 7th.
Mm,
And then the international break starts the following weekend. So there would be that Wednesday in between in an ideal world.
right.
But I was informed on Discord that MLS announced that there would be no more rescheduling. If a game gets canceled, that's it. Now that we're in this points
Wow.
per game model that we'll talk about more throughout this podcast.
Yeah, so it's looking less and less likely that we are going to have a game. I mean, I don't even think it's worth it at this point, right? And that actually might be huge. We don't know who these players are. If LAFC can't have these players in the playoffs, that's huge. What if it's Carlos Vela, right? What if it's Atuesta? What if it's a Diego Rossi? This team might be really hindered by this. Or what if they can't even compete in the playoffs, right? And an RSL or Vancouver comes in because LAFC doesn't want to, or nobody wants to play LAFC because they have just had a COVID outbreak. So we'll have more news. Keep an eye out on our Twitter. We'll definitely repost anything that we find out. In other Quakes news, Chris Wondolowski wins Player of the Week for his 9th time, ties
Woo!
5th most in MLS history. So, guys, we actually did a thing. There wasn't any vote Wando option on the MLS Player of the Week, and we just decided to slam every single hashtag of vote Wando and tag MLS and comment vote Wando, and we got it done.
And the replies were flooded from other people. So this wasn't just us. This was Quakes fans as a whole on Twitter. Great job.
Yeah, great job, guys. Big shout out. We are at Atlanta for a week, and that feels nice.
Yeah, we were Atlanta. We were Seattle in the 2010s. We were the LA Galaxy in the early 2010s. All these obnoxious populist fan presences on social media, but it's a little less obnoxious once you're doing it.
Yeah, well, in my mind, I'm thinking, is it because Atlanta's not good right now, or is it because Quakes fandom has just become bigger in this last year? But I guess that's a question we'll never find out, right?
Oh, trust me, there's still a lot of Atlanta fans on Twitter. I write for MLS Multiplex podcast. The MLS Multiplex blogging website, and I appeared a couple times on their podcast, which has 3 co-hosts like this one, and 2 of them, Josh and Drew, are Atlanta United fans. So I do know that there's still a good Atlanta United community, as well as Atlanta sports, which, that part of Twitter has been a little depressing lately, unfortunately for them, as their sports teams have not had a good year. But
too bad for Braves.
Yeah, well, they got farther than many people expected, but the way they went out, it wasn't a good year. So, but moving back to Chris Wondolowski, I think it's very much deserved. I think we talked about it was a mini goal drought and big players playing well in big games, and this was a game that the Quakes had to win to get to the playoffs, have any chance of making it to the playoffs, and definitely continues the conversation of will he or won't he retire. And I would be very surprised if he does at this point, because he has more to give.
Will, since you are kind of like a newer side of this Quakes Twitter, how do you feel knowing that your retweets had an impact?
Yeah, like I said, I usually haven't been crazy in social media, and for something to, try to actually work out and see how the power of social media actually really works was good, and of course we want to see Wando, be the one get rewarded for that.
Yeah, and it's such a great, I guess, acknowledgement for Wando's great career so far. But on the Twitter post that MLS posted, my God, how many Belgium references are we going to see in this dude's career? How many years away?
It's never going to end.
It's never. And it's so unfortunate, because there's some salty U.S. fans out there that will never appreciate our eternal captain. But
There was a
That's hilarious.
salty RSL fan who brought it up too on the Real Salt Lake tweet where they tweeted the final score, and I just told them, "Hey, if we talked shit about Nick Rimando or Kyle Beckerman, you'd be in your feelings." So yeah, don't even play with this when it
Well,
comes to Wando.
referencing our latest episode with Ted Ramey, you said Kyle Beckerman shouldn't have cut his hair. So that we did talk a little smack.
No, but that was a compliment because Kyle
Yeah.
Beckerman, I mean, this is another conversation for another day about whether African Americans should have dreadlocks or not. But if there is one person on the planet who pulled it off that isn't African American or in the black diaspora, it was Kyle Beckerman. It was kind of a meme at first, and I was like, "What the heck? What kind of hair it is?" And I also compared it to the Carolina Panthers receiver Robbie Anderson.
Yeah, Robbie Anderson.
And I'm like, Kyle Beckerman, like, what are we doing? Like, at least Robbie Anderson, like, he has that hair, but he has to hide in the helmet when he plays. You don't. You just let it flow. So, yeah, it's, Kyle Beckerman is an icon. He is a RSL legend. Beckerman and Rimando, both, who Rimando recently retired, are as beloved with the RSL as Shea Salinas and Chris Wondolowski are with us. And speaking of Shea Salinas.
Yeah, there you go. Shea Salinas now ties Ronald Cerritos for the most all-time assists for the club at 47. This was coming. Yeah, I mean, he had his last assist about 4 or 5 games ago, so it was coming. It was a matter of time till he ties the all-time leading assist record holder, Ronald Cerritos, or he passes it. And it looks like he will tie it, but let's see if he stays at the club next year to pass it, right?
Yeah. I did notice something interesting. So if you go on the Wikipedia page, you can see the top 10 goal scorers and top 10 assists and a few other stats for San Jose Earthquakes history. If you look at the top 10 assists, there are – I think the lowest assist total I saw was 24, and the lowest goal scorer total I saw was 20. And goals usually happen a lot more often than assists. So I think that's pretty cool, and it shows that San Jose Earthquakes – they don't have the most stars that have come through the ranks in MLS history, but at their best, they're a great collective unit, and these players, they play for each other, and that is what it means to be a San Jose Earthquake.
Or the San Jose Earthquakes have the all-time leading scorer named Chris Wondolowski, and he banged in all the goals for him.
Yeah, that is true, but you do have to think that before Chris Wondolowski was the player that he was, there was still about 15 or maybe 13 years of Quakes history where there could have been enough people to score a few more goals. But, it's like it's just a really interesting statistical anomaly there.
Definitely.
But, yeah, that's true. It's a bit more top-heavy with Wando, which we're really excited about still. And more things to be excited about are some of the awards that are coming up. So MLS award voting, some categories have nominated 1 or 2 players from every team. So this is going to be very different from what we're used to, where we usually get a more condensed short list, maybe like 3, 5, maybe at most 10 nominees per category. But we're going to take advantage of this situation and acknowledge the Quakes players that are nominated. So first up,
some of them were a little bit, I didn't expect, and then some of them were okay. I totally understand that. So Ivan's gonna go ahead and list them off, but just keep in mind some of these are a little inflated due to the fact that everybody has to be nominated or is nominated. But some of these are kind of oddballs that you're just like, oh wow, I never knew that.
Yeah, I'll take this as it's like the MLB All-Star game. It's like, even though every team gets representation, like, you still want to be that player that gets mentioned, and it's something to be commended of, even if you're a long shot to win the award. So here we go. We got Christian Espinoza and Jackson Ewell on the short list for the 2020 Landon Donovan MLS MVP. I'll just read them all off real quick, and then I'll get your guys' takes on some of these nominations, the ones that stand out the most.
Yeah.
Then we have Marcos Lopez and Cade Cowell on the AT&T Young Player of the Year shortlist. We got JT Marcinkowski on the All-State Goalkeeper of the Year shortlist. Osvaldo Alanis and Nick Lima on the Defender of the Year shortlist. Osvaldo Alanis on the Newcomer of the Year. and Chris Wondolowski on the short list for MLS Works Humanitarian of the Year. So which ones stand out to you guys?
Yeah, I'm gonna say Nick Lima for Defender of the Year. I'm gonna eat some words that I said the last podcast where he made the biggest mistake of this campaign for the Quakes. But if he's on the short list for Defender of the Year, when we have other guys like Flo and Marcos Lopez that didn't make it, there must be something that the MLS pundits are loving, or that they think that this guy has a very high ceiling that he can achieve and play every week in and week out. Will, what do you think?
There's a couple of them that would kind of go, but I mean, I would say also for the defender part, Alanis, I feel like we didn't see it. We didn't see enough.
Mm-hmm.
The him being out with injury, for most of the season is kind of hard to be like, oh yeah, you get the nod for that, and also being the newcomer as well. I feel like, it's just like I didn't really feel a big impact from Alanis, as even though he was a really big signing for us.
Yeah, I think the Newcomer of the Year nomination, Alanis is the only newcomer really, unless you count Tanner Beeson was drafted, so there was that. But Alanis was definitely the obvious choice if we're gonna pick one player from every MLS club, and since most MLS clubs, not all of them, had more transfer business this year, they're going to have a bit more to choose from. But still, I think some of these are very much in place. I think Marcos Lopez and Cade Cowell showed tremendous skill and promise and contributions throughout this year. And JT Marcinkowski has been a good goalkeeper when he's been given opportunities. I do think, some of these players like JT Marcinkowski, because he hasn't played as much as compared to the other starting goalkeepers in this league.
Right.
It's going to be a tough uphill battle for him. But still, I think at the very least, these are San Jose Earthquakes players who, in a very difficult season with ups and downs, that they're getting acknowledged, and we'll see what effect this has, because every team is getting a similar amount of nominations. So maybe the morale boost kind of is a wash, but still, it's really exciting to see these names.
Yeah, well, JT Marcinkowski is our starter for years to come.
Mm-hmm.
And this kind of cements that. They had the opportunity to choose Daniel Vega as well, but they didn't. They went ahead and chose JT. So I think that nomination means the most out of all of these. We had a couple of questions, I think, or there was a question on the Facebook group where they were saying, prove me wrong, JT is not going to be our starter next year. And I think this year is showing some credit that other people around the league at least think that he is start worthy and at least nominee worthy of goalkeeper of the year. And that's huge. Yeah.
I don't know where some of these random hate comments or posts for JT Marcinkowski are coming from. It's been a night and day difference between JT Marcinkowski starting and Daniel Vega starting, and it's not coincidental. It's really an important personnel change that had to be made this year, and he's earned everything that has come his way, and I definitely want to see him start for the foreseeable future as long as he's here.
Well, let's see what JT's biggest fan says about this nomination. Will, do you have anything to say?
No, I mean, what I wanted to get to also with this is, who do you think out of all these will actually win?
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, I would love to hear just real quick. Start with somebody that would think who's got the best chance to win. I mean, several people.
The funniest thing, Will, you said Osvaldo Alanis didn't have enough impact, but I think Osvaldo Alanis winning Newcomer of the Year might be the easiest one to achieve. I think the Quakes won with Godoy, right? I think, or Harold Cummings. It was one of them that won that award. I might be wrong, or they were close second, but no, Godoy did win it, and so that's something that's achievable.
Yeah. So just to quickly run through them again in terms of likelihood of winning, I think the MVP award usually goes to a very high-profile player that's in a team, usually in the top 3, maybe 4 at most in their conference. So
Right.
I think that's going to leave out the Quakes players, unfortunately. There's been a lot of great young players this year in MLS. Brendan Aronson, for example, for the Philadelphia Union, who recently got moved to RB Salzburg. I think he might be the front runner for the Young Player Award.
Or Dyke.
Yeah, him too.
Yeah.
JT Marcinkowski didn't start enough for me to think that he's going to get the Goalkeeper of the Year shortlist. I think it usually goes to someone who is near the top of the clean sheet leaderboard. So
he does have a lot, though.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
Defender of the Year, I think some of those lopsided losses, unfortunately, are going to come back to haunt us. So I think Newcomer of the Year or maybe Humanitarian of the Year, because Chris Wondolowski, he is the heartbeat of San Jose Earthquakes and
that
to an
true.
extent, San Jose. Even though, compared to the Sharks, there's more Sharks fans in San Jose, of course, than San Jose Earthquakes because the Sharks are super popular there. But everyone in San Jose and almost everyone in the Bay Area knows who Chris Wondolowski is. And it's not just because of his soccer exploits. It's not just because he played in a World Cup. It's because of the person he is.
No.
and it's not just because he played at Chico State. It's because of the work that he's done around the community and the time he takes to get to know the fans and and help people any way he can. So,
yeah, definitely. And then in the last bit of news, Minnesota United have signed Kevin Partita, Sam Gleedy, and Foster Langsdorf. Gleedle. Sorry, I apologize.
I didn't want to mess that up. So thank you for taking that.
I'm horrible with names. Foster Langsdorf from Reno, 1868. So we this would hurt me the most. Have the Earthquakes lost out on their potential following a good season in USL and allowing a team that has been difficult to beat to get potentially stronger? Again, I'm going to start off with this one because
go for it.
We had Kevin Partita on the pod. He was having a great season, took Reno to the playoffs, converted as their penalty taker, scored crazy goals in central midfield. He's not a right back anymore. So all you guys thinking, oh, it's okay, we didn't need a right back, it's all right. That's not what he was playing. He was playing a lot of central midfield, and this one hurts us dearly here at Tectonic Takes, and we sent him a message. We wish him the best. This is great news as fans of him and as fans of the player that he is. This is a great opportunity. He gets his feet wet in MLS again. Extremely happy for the guy. Big news. Congrats, Kevin Partita, but definitely hurts as a Quakes fan. What do you guys think? Let's start with Will.
Yeah, I mean, I just don't really initially like the team that he went to. I mean, I just think as a Quakes fan right now, how we've played against Minnesota, why do we need to give them more players that are, obviously they had a really good season for the USL, and it's just man, it's just going to be that much more difficult to beat Minnesota because it seems like every time we play them, we don't know how to play soccer anymore.
Yeah, it's a range of emotions. Flattery that Minnesota United felt the need to sign players from the San Jose Earthquakes affiliate after beating the crap out of us several times. What else? Concern that the Quakes aren't using their relationship with Reno to the best of their abilities. There's still a connection there. Ian Russell and Matias Almeida have similar coaching styles. They're implementing the same system, and they operate in similar ways. But there has been a lack of players going out on loan from the San Jose Earthquakes, partially because they have had to use their youth players more. There was a stretch where there was injuries and getting used to the congested fixture schedule. But now we're starting to see that there's no one in Reno I can think of except for maybe Emi Ochoa that is, contracted to the San Jose Earthquakes. So I feel like that affiliate status doesn't really, seem like it's being used to its potential. And the USL in particular is also trying to move away from the affiliate status. A lot of two teams, like LA Galaxy 2, for example, they're still around, but other two teams are being rebranded as they're trying to create another MLS like under 23 league as opposed to those teams competing in USL Championship alongside single entity teams such as San Diego Loyal, Sacramento Republic, and so on and so forth. But yeah, go ahead.
Sorry, Ivan, go.
Yeah, because these aren't players on loan in the Reno roster, Reno doesn't owe us anything. Like, if they get offers from other teams, they're allowed to talk to whoever they want. But it's one of those things where, like, you'd expect San Jose Earthquakes to be on top of the situation and to try to put themselves in a position where they get first choice if there's any players that they want. I do think that when Reno did very well this season, they were one of the best teams in USL.
Right.
They made it to the second round of the playoffs, losing barely to a pretty good Phoenix Rising team. And while the San Jose Earthquakes are doing very well with the roster they have, there are at least a couple players that I think you could have plucked from the Reno roster and added to this lineup, whether it be potential starters, fringe starters, or coming off the bench, that they would have helped this team in the long run. So I think it might be a missed opportunity for the San Jose Earthquakes, but
definitely,
you do have to move on and try to learn from the situation and see what else you can do to start to make moves to better yourselves in the future, like what Minnesota are doing. And we wish Kevin Partey the best. It's going to suck to see him play against us, but he's a player that deserves to be playing at the highest level that he can.
Yeah, and this move really hurts because we haven't made a single move this year, guys. We brought in Alice on a loan, but we haven't made a permanent transfer for any single type of player. Please tell me that Kevin Partey wouldn't be able to do the job that Luis Felipe does. It's completely,
what job?
Yeah, right. Coming on for 8 minutes every 6 games. I would rather have a guy that's banging in goals and leading a team into the playoffs in USL than, unfortunately, a guy that's head's not there sometimes. Again, in that Seattle game where we lost 7-1, Luis Felipe had the worst game I've ever seen someone have in a Quakes uniform. And this hurts because Kevin Partey was invested in this system and he was invested in this club and how he how he came into the Quakes the first time, and then he had his injury, and then he worked his hardest to try to get back into game fitness, taking that Reno team into the playoffs and becoming one of their stars. And I hope I know this is a Earthquakes podcast, but I hope this is another Danny Muzovsky situation, because I do want to see Kevin Partey play stellar in the MLS, and I want Jesse Fioranelli to see, what do you do? Like, you're not signing anybody. What are you doing in your office for so long? This guy probably came on a cheap. Kevin Partey has played for the club before. He knows the system. He can instantly help us if we go down with an injury to one of our main players. If we lose one of our main players and this becomes an issue for the playoffs for us, this is a move where I look straight at our GM and say, what were you doing in this situation? Why didn't you sign some coverage?
Right. And while we're happy to make it to the playoffs and maybe the front office, I don't think they deserve the benefit of the doubt, but I'll give it to them in this hypothetical that maybe they had a few moves ready to go in case the Quakes were in a worse position than they are now.
Yeah.
And then they decided to keep it with their core. Like, this team is good enough to make it to the playoffs, and I'm hoping that they'll do it this season.
Right.
But you can't continue to just rely on the same players and expect to go far into the playoffs and potentially win an MLS Cup, which is the ultimate goal for 26 clubs right now, and 25 of them are making more signings than this one. So,
Will, do you have anything to say about this?
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to add on. I mean, yes, we can blame the GM for this and, why he hasn't signed anyone. We know that through Quakes, history, they have issues signing new players. But at the same time, I mean, this is only the second year of Matias Almeida, and we don't know where Matias feels about Reno and, obviously, so we don't know. It could be also that Matias maybe just didn't want him.
Right.
Maybe he didn't like his play. I mean, I'm not saying Kevin wasn't worthy or anything like that, but I mean, you did mention that he should know the system, but I mean, I feel like no one knows Matias' system until you're actually in it. And because I feel like it's very fluid, and it's a man marking system, and we've seen how it's obviously goes up and down, and
Right.
it's hard to really look and see the big changes Matias would make on the field, so I mean we just don't know. I feel like it's more of a Matias Almeida thing as far as who he kind of wants to bring on. I would assume that he would have more of a say to
Definitely.
get players in then I feel like it would be they probably have a more of a relationship where he would get Matias's input when he brings on a player from now on.
Yeah.
Yep.
It's definitely nice to see Reno get some sort of transfer fee, right, for these three guys. Is that it's undisclosed, but they definitely will get something from them.
Yeah, that seems to be the case, and I think Reno will be all right. I think in USL, you do have to be making a lot of transfers in and out, because as much as MLS is a transitional league, you're also, it's even more so in
Right.
the USL level. So I think they're making the right moves that they need to be competitive in that division, and I'm sure that they'll return to 2021 whenever that season starts as one of the better teams in the league.
Yeah, I mean, if they have their coach, right? If they have their coach, they'll still be very competitive. Ian Russell has that team streaking and always competitive. Again, I know Matias Almeida is coming back to form, but I wouldn't mind having Ian Russell if Almeida decided to leave to another club, because it does seem like he does have a grasp of the locker room and always keeps a team in competitive nature when they have new players every year, which is a great sign.
Yep. So that's, it's a difficult day to deal with those types of news, because you think about what could have been if San Jose Earthquakes, but unfortunately, this is par for the course when it comes to this club and this sport, and we have to make the best with what we have. So going into this past game from Wednesday, October 28th at Earthquake Stadium, the San Jose Earthquakes got to a relieving an important 2-0 win over Real Salt Lake.
Yeah.
Chris Wondolowski scored both his goals in the 15th minute and then the 73rd minute. The Quakes lineup was JT Marcinkowski in goal, backline of Lima, Youngworth, Alanis, and Lopez. Hudson in the defensive midfielder spot, Fierro and Christian Espinoza in the wings, Rios and Jackson Ewell in the middle, and Wando up top, with
Very
the subs
normal.
being 69th minute, Carlos Fierro coming on for Salinas, 81st minute, Tommy Thompson coming on for Espinoza, Vaca coming on for Rios, and then the 89th minute, Cowell coming on for Wondolowski. So definitely the type of Quakes team that we're going to expect to see for the rest of the season, barring suspensions or injuries.
Yeah, definitely. Vaco coming on was nice. I liked seeing Vaco back in the lineup. Cade Cowell, one touch too many. He should have shot it after that second touch, but he made it. He'll come with time. He made that angle a lot harder than it had to be. But man, he makes an impact when he's on the field, and he's 17 years old. So that more and more we're finding out that Barca rumor is pretty real. So enjoy it while it happens, right?
Yep. A clean sheet for this defense is always welcome. Does a clean sheet for Alanis in particular make you a bit more confident in him as the starter going forward, Will?
What's that again? Sorry.
So you were a bit concerned about whether Alanis was the best choice center back for this stretch of matches, but he got a clean sheet along with the rest of this defense.
Yeah, I mean, okay, yes, I was hard on Alanis, and just because I felt like Beeson played, I think, really, really well. I mean, I don't really find a game that Beeson was really bad and really cost the Quakes a goal, or he really did. I feel like he filled in really well for two guys that were missing. I mean, it was Kasia and Alanis.
Besides Beeson's first game, right?
Yeah, okay. I mean, like I was saying, we could try to find a game where he played bad. I mean, I'm not doubting that, but what I'm saying is, at least most of the time that I saw him, he played very well for being a rookie. Learning Matias' system, coming in for two veterans that we expected a lot of big things from,
Very true.
and he played very well with Flo. I think him and Flo got really built the chemistry, and I didn't think he was bad, and they were winning games when they did come to the end. But yes, we did get Alanis on a loan, and yes, he should be playing. And two of the losses that we had recently were with Alanis, and he was getting back into form. So I definitely was a little more harsh than I should be. So yeah, Alanis should be in there. But I was also, I mean, we don't even see Beeson on the bench now. I don't know if we will be seeing him if Kasia is back, looking like he's on the bench.
Yeah, so we'll see if we do get a chance to see Jackson Yule again. This is the part of the season where the starting 11 and even the subs that are used from game to game tend to be a bit more solidified until a yellow card suspension or something occurs. But if we don't see Beeson play another minute, I think at the very least Quakes fans and the Quakes organization knows that they have a capable player that they can call upon for 2021.
You scared me for a second. You said Jackson Yule. I was like, what? We're not going to see Jackson Yule again?
Yeah.
But
Tanner
no,
Beeson,
Tanner
sorry.
Beeson. Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
No worries. And then the RSL 11 was Andrew Putna, Aaron Herrera, Marcelo Silva, Needham Onua, Danny Toya.
Yeah. I think you got it right the first time. Nedum Onua. Yeah.
Onua, Danny Toya, Michael Chang, Nick Beasler, Everton Luis, Corey Baird, Albert Rusnak, and Demir Krejlash.
Krejlak.
This Tectonic Takes has turned into watch Favi struggle with names. So
it's entertainment.
Yeah, so the subs that came on for RSL, it was Pablo Ruiz in the 60th minute for Everton Luis. Justin Merrim, a very talented player to come off the bench, came on for Chang in the 60th minute as well. 69th, Justin Glad, one of their better defenders who might be out of contract and leaving in the offseason, came on for Marcelo Silva, who was hurt. 84th minute was Douglas Martinez for Corey Baird. And then 85th minute, the lovable Kyle Beckerman, who has played for so long for Real Salt Lake and in MLS. Like he originally played for Miami Fusion, so he played long enough for a Miami team to exist, to fold, and then for another one to pop up in Inter Miami. So what a career he's had. But a few stats. So the Quakes outshot Real Salt Lake 13-9, and crucially 5-0 on shots on target. So Real Salt Lake, they couldn't get it done today or that day. Possession, the Quakes won that battle by 54% to 46%. Passing accuracy, Real Salt Lake had a slight edge, 85 to 83%. Chances created, Quakes had 1, Real Salt Lake had none. And then Quakes led the corners department 5-1. They each had 12 fouls, but the fouls that Real Salt Lake had were pretty bad. They had 5 yellow cards to Quakes 2, and both had 1 offside. So I feel like the stats tell the story of the match pretty well.
Yeah, 5 shots on target compared to 0 is huge. I mean, this was a playoff game for RSL, and it seems like they just aren't a playoff caliber team. We saw this in MLS is back. They have a tendency to get yellow cards and really easily, and we saw that in MLS is back. They got a couple of reds, I believe, and a couple of yellows that game. Silva got stamped, or he got stepped on by Andy Rios. He was a little mad. He had all the credit to be mad, but the coach took him off before he had a red card. But we could have saw another red card in this RSL game easily. And then so we're 11-11 going into this game, adding to already a must-win aura to this fixture.
So both teams had 11 wins, and then there was 11 draws in the first 33 games between these two teams in MLS history. So that's pretty remarkable, right?
You're right. It's insane. That was the planets lined up, and we won on the day we had to.
Right.
And
Finally.
points per game, right? So we needed that win. I remember we were talking about it, how it was going to happen, and we got our answer, right? It's going to be points per game. So hopefully we get into the playoffs. I hope a team doesn't get screwed out of it, but we'll see. And then the field doesn't look like it's getting any better. Will, the grass expert, our grass expert on this pod, Will, what'd you think of the patch?
I went there. I smelt the field. I felt it. It's not up to par. I tried to talk to the grounds keepers. Slid them a 20. Been like, hey man, like what's going on? Like no, but it's not getting any better. Like I said, we're just hoping next season we're gonna sign 20 new guys and like have an amazing field, and that's all we can hope for. But yeah, it's definitely not getting any better.
Will slid him a 20, and he was like, "Great, this is for fertilizer. I appreciate that." Fisher doesn't give us anything, so
yeah. Oh, it's terrible.
But yeah, it doesn't look like it's getting any better. In the 13th minute, so this is kind of the highlights of the game. In the 13th minute, the Quakes gave me a heart attack playing out the back. Very dangerous. JT
Oh my gosh.
really looks confident on the ball, but there was a second where I think he passed the ball across goal, right? And it was just
my gosh.
It was like, oh, dude, if this was Daniel Vega, that would have been a goal. But it's not. It's JT. So
Yeah, the thing is, we're also they're not the best team in MLS, but still, if Albert Rusnak was playing as the false nine striker, and he's a very capable player, so I would be very scared to play off the back if I was a goalkeeper facing him. But JT Marcin Neuer had nerves of steel this game.
Yeah, definitely. So Chris Wondolowski scored the opening goal, contributing to a brilliant dummy to Christian Espinoza initial shot, which hit the post, but Wando was first to the ball and put it in. And that's Wando, oh Wando.
I love that song.
That's our captain. That's the goal that he wants. That's the goal that he's there for. He puts it in the back of the net, not like other poachers in this league that are getting paid way more that play for a team where it's warm all the time and in the likes of Hollywood.
Carson.
Hint.
Yeah. So JT Marcin Neuer makes an appearance in this game, playing out the back very often. Like Ivan said earlier, are we going to start that? Are you going to start that, Marcin Neuer? Ivan?
Yeah, but I don't recall any other game where JT made that many passes in that part of the field. So, if this is how he wants to play going forward, I wish him the best of luck. But
he's confident, and that's good.
Yeah, he's confident, and I just hope he's confident and he remains that confident. And then as the games continue, then my blood pressure won't be as high.
Yeah. All right. And then, so putting out with the Ramondo S save in the 28th minute on a Wando goal. Wando could have easily had a hat trick this game, but he definitely saw that ball at the last second, extended his arms and put it to the corner. But that was a great save. The closing stages of the first half and the first 15 minutes of the second half were largely RSL dominated. Although Nick Besler earned a yellow card for bringing down Carlos Fierro, which Carlos Fierro's new name is going to be JJ Macias Bait.
Seriously.
So JJ Macias Bait in the Quakes' first real opportunity of the second half.
That sounds so close to jailbait. Let's not.
No. This is a kids podcast. We can't talk about this. JJ Macias Bait. It's different. But Carlos Fierro, keep playing well because we want to give you the Chivas so that we can get Alanis on a permanent, Will's favorite player, and JJ Macias, Ivan's new favorite player.
But to be honest, though, if he's playing well, I'm happy for him to stay at San Jose Quakes too.
No. This is Vaco. This is Vaco season, baby. Get out of there.
All right. There was one other notable moment in the first half. Jackson Yule's last-minute tackle saved a potential equalizer in the 41st minute. The following corner, and that was their only corner of the game, as we mentioned earlier, hit the post, although JT got into it, and then it hit the post after his hand. So, and then JT was able to claim the ball before anyone else got a rebound opportunity. So, there's another heart and mouth moment there where you just thought, oh, this is where they're going to equalize, and thankfully the RSL can capitalize.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we saw, RSL still struggling with Kurlak. I think they got
I thought it was Kralich. No?
I don't know. But
the hardest team
I know.
names.
Seriously. He got another yellow card, similarly following a confrontation with Nick Lima. Nick Lima always seems to be getting in those kind of things sometimes. Justin Miram comes off the bench, keep the pressure on. But it looks like Nick Lima, that's why we were talking about him being the defensive player that he is,
Yeah.
Pass down the wing to Chase Salinas and proceeds to, Salinas going to Wondolowski, right, in the 6-yard box where Wando can just take it and then, do what he does best. And it was also, just great to see that we got Vaco back, right?
It was.
Everyone's not going to complain about that. So it was great to see Vaco, make his first appearance, return from Georgia's duties. And, the wonderful legend came on for Real Salt Lake, but, it was too late. The game was, over for him. But, the biggest, big thing we got going is Cade Cowell coming in and almost scoring a goal.
Oh, yeah.
What'd you guys like? Come on. We should have gotten a goal right there, right? No
Give
question.
Cade Cowell more playing time. They put him in the 89th minute. Like, you don't treat a player that's that good like that. You got to give him at least 15 minutes. Like,
what's crazy is they put him in that minute, and he already had an opportunity to score, right? So
yeah, I
he's
know.
a special player.
Exactly. So he's the type of player you got to play more. With the way that both Espinoza and Fierro are playing right now, it is tough to want to shift to that wing partnership there. But Cade Cowell can definitely do with a bit more playing time there.
Yeah, and Vaco, did you guys see how he's playing out there? He had a great hold-up play. I remembered Quincy Amarikwa, and I was like, wow, Vaco's turning into Quincy right now with that hold-up play for Cade. So that was a nice little partnership I wasn't expecting to see. They almost had, a couple of opportunities to score when RSL was really pressing. But Vaco he's playing out there like he's playing with, like, little kids, dude. He has such good hold-up play to keep the ball in his feet. We need to see some more Vaco time, all right?
The RSL defense is definitely something that they're going to want to improve in the offseason. I know that they've assumed that Justin Glad is going to move, so they're not even bothering starting him anymore. But Nadum Onua, for example, he played for Manchester City. He was before the takeover in 2008, and then he was one of the players that stuck around a little bit before they finally moved him on to QPR. And he's definitely – he's shown he's an MLS level defender at times, but if he's your best center back, or maybe it's Marcelo Silva, if he's one of your starting two center backs, I think you gotta try to look for another option.
Yeah, like a guy named Osvaldo Alanis, Defender of the Year nominee. Okay, Newcomer of the Year nominee. Okay.
All right, one stud, one dud. I'll go first. Stud. I'm going to go with the obvious choice here, Chris Wondolowski. This is a game that he needed to have. It was a game that everyone associated with San Jose Earthquakes needed to have as well, that now everyone's swelling with optimism with 2 games potentially left to go in this MLS season. And Chris Wondolowski, he's getting it done. Big players playing big in big games.
Yeah, definitely.
So I definitely appreciated what he was able to do in that game. And then the dud, no one on the Quakes deserves a dud for me. So I'm going to give it to Kralak again for trying to flop for a penalty. I thought that was pretty lame. And he added to the ridiculous total of 5 yellow cards for Real Salt Lake. They just lost in every aspect of the game that night.
Yeah, and my stud's going to go to the Casemiro of Cupertino, all right? Shout out to JPM on Twitter. Judson had a great game attacking the ball. He's what I'd like to say our Chihuahua with bite, all right? He's out there just getting the ball, always pestering people, making sure that Jackson Ewell has the space to succeed. And he doesn't get a lot of highlights. Unfortunately, he doesn't get a lot of praise. But the Casemiro of Cupertino is my stud. And then my dud goes with Kraloch too. I think that flop, the way he moves his body to try to move it into Nick Lima was very obvious. You get a dud for that. Will, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna go with my stud. I was hard on this general person on the last podcast, and he proved me right. Today, or not, excuse me, the other day. It was Matias Almeida.
Okay.
I was calling him out for taking up bad times for subs and not winning games when we need to win a game, and especially against a team we should have beat in Vancouver, but. We needed a win, and it was against a team that we should have beaten, which we finally got a win. And so I'm going to give it to Matias, and he did, actually put on some subs at a decent time. And, obviously they put on the super sub of Chase Salinas, and look what he does. He gets a assist to Chris Wondolowski doing what he does best.
Yeah, crazy. At the age 34, still producing, right?
Yeah, and that's why we're going to re-sign him next year anyway. But my dud is, I'm just going to go with every Real Salt Lake player that had a yellow card. It was just way too many. 5 that's just crazy. That's a lot. So
that's half the lineup.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's half the lineup, and that's not supposed to be happening. So that all those guys, 5 of them, you got it. Duds.
Yeah. Usually when teams – usually in these cases it happened to both teams, but when at least one team gets that many yellow cards, it becomes an infamous game, like Balfour Nuremberg in the 2006 World Cup, Netherlands versus Portugal, or the 2010 World Cup final where the Netherlands were out of control. Our still weren't that bad, but still it was – they were just frustrated. And, we've been there. Granted, I don't think Quakes – they tend to foul and get yellow cards that much very often. But still, we've been there where, it's just not happening for you today in any aspect. And you just have to regroup and figure out what you can still do. Real Salt Lake are not eliminated. They kind of might as well be, but they're still in with a chance. So, their season's not over, and there's no fight in any team in them. There's no lack of fight in any team in MLS until they are eliminated for good. And the fan poll for the man of the match, by 83%, I think we had 40 votes in this poll on Twitter. By 83%, Wando won your man of the match award. 9.5% was Judson, a.k.a. the Casemiro of Cupertino, as his burner account is aptly named. We got 4.8% for JT. We love to see JT get his clean sheets. And 2.4% for Fierro. So a bit of love there.
Wait. You mean JJ Macias, babe? Come on, dog. That's his new name. But going back to what you were saying, Ivan, about Quakes getting yellow cards, we don't really get caught with the tactical fouls a lot. RSL got at least 3 yellow cards just from tactical fouls where they're out, caught out on the counter and they just grab something so they can take out the guy and take a yellow like that. So we don't get caught that much with that, at least.
Right.
Yep. And then on the Tectonic Takes Twitter, we asked for your feedback on what the Earthquakes should do to honor legendary Earthquakes career Shea Salinas. And here are some of the highlights. Retire his number that can be doable. They didn't retire Wando's yet, but they probably will retire 8. Rename the corner where he kicked the flag to Salinas section. Easily done. They could do that. So this one's probably one of the funniest ones, but buy him some DeWalt power tools. It's the longest lasting power tools and it works for him for the long run. And then Shea Salinas actually retweeted that and he was like, hey, I would like some power tools. So shout outs to getting Shea Salinas some power tools. Create a milkshake at the food truck at the stadium called the Shake Shack. And then a lot of them were get him a cup. Shea's place at the stadium, they serve up a drink called the Assist, rum, pineapple juice, Jaeger, grenadine, splash of tequila. Not a bad idea.
Ooh.
A drink at the bar is not a bad idea. That's actually a pretty good idea. Earthquakes
Ideal.
Plaza should start by having statues of past and soon to be present Quakes alumni. I definitely see Salinas with the Wando at the front gate as well as the past greats. And then this one's a little on the harsher side by extending his contract. So definitely they can honor him in a plethora amount of ways. Ivan, Will, what were you guys' favorites? And then we'll start with Ivan.
I think giving him some sort of naming a part of the stadium after him is a great way to do it. I think it's a incredible tradition in all sports, and it really does show that while the stadium is an endeavor and it's an investment in ownership, it ultimately the stadium and the club itself does belong to the fans. And there's no sport that this is truer in soccer, and maybe this is the romantic in me because I know MLS is run very differently compared to England and Italy and Belgium and everywhere else practically except for Australia, but because A-League is similar, but that's but the point is that it shows that our feelings towards these players who have given us so much over the years are being heard, and we hope that he will be honored at some point. Shea Salinas, like Chris Wondolowski, they are going to be a part of this club long after they retire. And I know earlier in the season, like I was a bit critical of Shea Salinas. I was thinking, does he have a place in the squad in the near future? Because you don't see his impact as quite as with Ornelas does, although he's had some incredible moments this season. But this last month in particular, Shea Salinas has turned the corner. Every time he stepped foot on the field, he has given us good minutes, and it's just a reminder of his overall body of work.
Yeah, definitely. I think naming a corner flag Shea Salinas corner or the sections in the corner flags is something that costs them no money and they can easily do. So knowing the Quakes FO and there's a way to make or pay homage to a player that is a legend to your fans, that's an easy way to do it. Will, what do you think?
First one that always sticks out to me is get them a cup.
Yeah,
that's what we want. That's why we're fans. That's what we want to see. We want to see guys like that. I mean, guys that have been there for so long. So like Wando and Shea Salinas are the first ones that come to mind. It's just like how the San Jose Sharks have missed their opportunities with their long-term players.
Yeah,
and it's we're not going to get into big detail about that. But the point is guys that have been there putting their blood, sweat, and tears for your team. And been, getting all these tying records, all the goal scoring leader, and the end result hasn't happened yet, and we're hoping that it does sooner than later. So yeah, get them a cup, and I definitely would want to try this drink out. They have the bar. Yeah, I feel like I would have to try it out, and make sure it's good, enough. But then yeah, definitely. But I mean, of course, there's the simple stuff like retiring a number that's like very well possible, and then definitely the corner flag, like you said, is very doable.
Yeah, I don't think the retirement of the number is going to happen. Not like Wando. Wando, I think, is going to get his number retired, but the corner flag and the drink easily can be done.
Mm-hmm.
The drink would be awesome, right? That's some interaction with the fans, right? That's something that would be like, oh, yeah, dude. Did you get
it's a conversation starter.
Yeah, did you get the Shea's place at Avaya? Or, sorry, Earthquake Stadium? But no, yeah, it's something that, I mean, if I was the PR marketing or if I was some sort of person in the FO listening to this, those are good, easy ways to make, an impact with your fan base.
Yep. So before we get into the fan questions, I do want to acknowledge that Quakes74, a user on the Discord server for the San Jose Earthquakes, he created this incredible document which shows so many different permutations and scenarios. He's got it all lined up on these tables, and it's so well organized. We don't have the time to go through it in depth, but I will post a link to it on the description of this podcast. And pretty much it shows all the different scenarios if both the LAFC match does happen and if it doesn't. And the bottom line is if the LAFC match is postponed, the Quakes will clinch a playoffs if Vancouver draws or loses and RSL and LA Galaxy comes to a draw. So unfortunately, due to the points per game scenario, as well as the lack of a match to gain points in that scenario, that the Quakes would have to rely on other teams dropping points to clinch the playoffs this weekend in the event of a postponement. But the even worst case scenario than that, if the Quakes lose this game, if a match does happen and they lose, they need to get at least 1 point on decision day. It says they need to get a result, which I assume means just 1 point.
Right.
But 3 is definitely better than 1, and they'll have to rely on the results of other teams. So imagine how different it would be. Like, because I'm so happy that they beat the Real Salt Lake, but imagine how much easier this would have been, though, if they held on for at least a draw against Vancouver Whitecaps, because that's still haunting us.
Yeah, and I'm going to say I'm kind of happy that this game might be canceled, but in a perfect world, if the Seattle Sounders game was canceled, that would have been better. Because I feel like we beat LAFC away once. We can maybe do it again. But Seattle, we're not going to beat them. The best we can hope for is a draw, right? Hold them to Jordan Morris not having any shots on goal. And maybe we get a draw. It's going to come down to if the other teams can beat Real Salt Lake and Vancouver. And then let's hope that we don't get Seattle in the first round. That's my realistic take on it.
Yeah. What do you think, Will?
Yeah, I mean, it's just so complicated now, right? I mean, the points per game system has it's changed everything, and I mean, I wish we could have. I don't know. I wish they could have came up with a quicker solution, or this earlier. This is what we're gonna do instead of it being 3 games left the season, and then you're like, oh yeah, this is how we're doing it. This is how the playoffs are gonna be. You're like, wait, what? And then now you saw how the big movement in the bottom of the Western Conference of teams that are now pretty much mathematically almost out of it automatically just after just one thing the MLS came out with, and it's just oh wow. So it's just really sketchy, and I'm I'm not a mathematician, so I'm if we did it analytically, how does this gonna work in our math to with these results? So,
but luckily some Quakes fans are, and they made a Google Doc of it.
Right.
Yeah. So once again, thank you to Quake74 for sharing this with the Discord and allowing us to use it on the podcast. You do a great job with this, and I will definitely, while I'm eating some Halloween candy, I will try to study it a bit more so I can correctly, to the right level, panic depending on the result against LAFC on Sunday. So now we're going to get into some fan questions. The first one comes from Chris Ibarra, someone that I had the pleasure of talking to at the Quakes watch party presented by Intermedia. So, Will, why don't you tell us what he asked?
Yeah, he said, how would you describe the way Vaco runs?
Yeah, a very serious question to get us started here. When I think of Vaco, I immediately think of dribbling. Sometimes he dribbles himself out of trouble. Sometimes he dribbles himself into trouble. So someone who's that erratic but is capable of doing pretty cool things. I wouldn't say it's quite as chaotic as the Tasmanian Devil from Looney Tunes, but another similar character is definitely the Roadrunner, I think. That's a good way to describe the way he runs. What do you think, Fabi?
Yeah, so this is going to sound a little bad, but he kind of runs like a fat kid that got skinny. He doesn't realize how fast he is, but he's still using his arms to defend himself from the people getting the ball, and he's really strong on the ball. So it's that big boy that's out there on the pitch that no one can take the ball from. That's how I kind of think Vaco runs with the ball. But I mean, dude's fast, so he's definitely not a big boy, but he runs like that, and that's something that I've always liked seeing, just manning people up, holding the ball up for other players to get the runs out. I do like how Vaco plays. Yes.
Will, do you have an apt comparison in your mind?
Oh, I mean, no, honestly, not really. When I just see Vaco doing his thing, it's just I feel like his mind is in a million different places at once, right? That's what he's doing with the feet, with his ball. He's just going everywhere, and then sometimes you're just wait, where are you going? And then sometimes you're like, oh, wow, Vaco, you just did something great. And then the other times you're just like, wait, what was that? So, I mean, Vaco's just up and down. I mean, we heard it from Ted, the other night. Vaco just comes in waves, and when he's playing really well, and then when he's not.
Yeah.
Yeah,
ride the
it's
wave,
kind of
man.
like an Energizer Bunny too, and that can also apply to Kate Cowell, who is an instant impact whenever he comes off the bench. And I think the biggest the biggest factor in terms of being an effective winger is decision making. It helps to be fast. It helps to have the ability to do skills and dribble and all that, but knowing when to use those moves and when to cross, when to shoot, when to pass, that decision making will make you an effective player in any league. So, what's the next question, Will?
Yeah, the next is from Mike Pizzo on Facebook. With the season ending late and training camp for 2021 not that far off, what will the FO approach during the offseason to improve the team? He also has like a kind of a two-parter here. And in addition, Almeida stated that he wants to see which players would be able to count on moving forward. How much will that drive the decisions being made?
Favi, you want to crack at this one?
Yeah,
first?
yeah, I'll take this first. We're kind of seeing this in the NHL offseason, right? It's shortened. Teams are already in match fitness, so they're not going to have to get into match fitness again. So we should be able to, kind of go through with it as just like if it was, I guess, like a really short off season. Like if we had a break in the middle of a season, that's kind of how they're going to be approaching it for fitness. But for the FO, we should start seeing rumors now, and we are seeing rumors now. The Quakes are really tight-lipped. I mean, Jesse Fiorinelli doesn't let anything really get out, but we should start seeing rumors come out and guys coming in for at least the next season. But hopefully that's what we start seeing. And I think Almeida already has in mind what players he wants for next season. So we'll start seeing if we re-sign players, and if we don't re-sign players, the decisions being made in front of us.
Speaking just briefly about the NHL, a team that's definitely won this offseason is the Arizona Coyotes. I'll leave it at that. If you want to know more, you can Google search it. But I think it is definitely premature to try to forecast what kind of moves are going to be made this offseason for various reasons. This is not a typical year. The schedule for everything has been moved around for every single sport and league that you can think of. And it really does depend. There's everything to gain and everything to lose in these next two games. So I think Almeida does have a plan. I think he's done a good job keeping his cards close to his vest, because the types of players that he brings in, they're not the players that have long, drawn-out transfer sagas. Like, we didn't have months of, will Fierro sign, will Rio sign, stuff like that. But I think he's earned a little bit more benefit of the doubt right now. I think we're starting to see things come together, and there's going to inevitably, unless San Jose Earthquakes somehow win the MLS Cup, there's going to inevitably come that time, whether it's in the regular season or in the playoffs, where they lose a game, depending on how they lose. If they lose like maybe an extra time, or if they lose like 2-1 to anybody in the playoffs, and we're going to still have faith in this core for 2021. But if they get outclassed like 4-0, then you're going to start asking a bit more questions. Yeah, like against the Vancouver Whitecaps. I believe that might have been 5-0, but, the point is it wasn't even close. So, yeah, I think that answers the question. Will, do you have any thoughts?
No, I think you guys nailed it. I mean, we'll really see what's going to happen during this offseason, and what Matthias is going to have in mind, and what the GM is going to have in mind. It's going to be interesting, especially if the Quakes do make the playoffs and make it a run. We'll never know what's going to really happen. But yeah, for the most part, I think you guys nailed it. We could just crack at the next question.
All right, Jorge Martinez on Facebook asks, how will the points per game affect us? It seems like it can be a negative situation as Rapids are back into it. Fabi, I know you have a lot to say on the subject. So, before we get into that, I'll just briefly say that before it was points per game, like I remember it was Quake 7, Vancouver 8, and then Rapids were either 9th or 10th. And then with points per game, the Rapids jumped all the way to 8th. So while it did make an impact on the league table, I think the good news is that Quakes remain ahead even with points per game. So that is like the silver lining, but it does make things scarier. And we keep talking like someone's going to get screwed in this scenario, and we won't know until the end of decision day. So go ahead, Fabi.
Yeah, points per game is going to affect us greatly, I think.
Mm-hmm.
We can't there's so much news coming out with the LAFC not being able to play, or if we're going to play, and so many inputs that can go into this points per game that it just makes it a whirlwind of problems. I don't really think that the Colorado Rapids deserve that, since they did not play those games. But again, what if another team got an outbreak like we're seeing with LAFC? I think this points per game is definitely the best way about it, because if another team had an outbreak like we're seeing, there's no other way to do it. Will?
Yeah, I mean, it's just a hard situation that we're in, and we're right now. Well, at least we're fortunate that we aren't completely, we're in the playoffs. I feel for the teams that are out, and I would be infuriated, honestly, if I was the team that wasn't in the playoff spot right now. I would be hating what they're doing. I'd be like, wow, really, it took this long. I would be making a much more bigger of a deal if I was out of the playoff spot. Mm-hmm. But since we are, I'm just glad we are. I mean, but like I said, it affects everything, and we just need to actually just do our part and, probably win one more game, and that should at least lock us in, hopefully.
Two teams that shouldn't feel upset, though, I think Dynamo and Galaxy, they were the bottom two either way. So, they're not going to be mad about the points per game. They're just going to be mad at themselves for their awful season. So, to put it bluntly. I think Ted Ramey put it best when we interviewed him that if one of our biggest pressing concerns that is keeping us up at night is how will points per game affect the San Jose Earthquakes, then we're doing pretty well in a time where so many people are going through real shit right now. And some of us here still are too. Like, we've had problems, finding work or maintaining work hours. Some of us have moved houses. Like, it's a really difficult time. So it's definitely something to put in perspective. And this is what we signed up for when we got any form of MLS during this pandemic. And we're going to try to ride the wave as much as we can.
Definitely.
The next one comes from Onik Rusinov, one of the more active San Jose Earthquakes fans. He's on a few different platforms, so it's nice to hear from him. If these Minnesota transfers mean he wants to know if these Minnesota transfers mean the relationship between the San Jose Earthquakes and Reno is straining. And I do think it does say something when you look up whatever resource you want. Like, Wikipedia is it's not the most reliable resource for like a research paper. But in terms of like fact checking sports stuff, everything is usually laid out very clearly. Whoa. If you see on the Reno page, not a single player, I think, on loan as of now from San Jose Earthquakes, and it shows that San Jose Earthquakes aren't taking advantage of the fact that Reno is their affiliate club, and is already it's not the strongest affiliate relationship because they were once affiliates with Sacramento Republic, and then it shifted to Reno. So I think if they're not under contract under San Jose Earthquakes, as hard as it is for us to swallow sometimes, those players in that organization, they don't owe San Jose Earthquakes any sort of priority to give us their players. If whoever comes up to them, whoever gives them the best offer that makes the most sense for them, they're going to get the players that they want. And I think all that I suggest San Jose Earthquakes do is that they remain in communication with Reno. They ask them, okay, what do you think about these players? Are these players thriving in the system? Do you think this player is ready for a step up?
Probably did, though.
And could have. A lot of stuff happens behind the scenes.
Right.
But I just hope that behind the scenes that there is still a level of communication that we're not privy to. And I think there's still a good relationship there. But I think as a whole, as we mentioned, USL Championship in particular is trying to move away from the affiliate teams, and the next stage of fringe players on the Earthquakes team that won't get a lot of minutes at MLS level, they'll be playing in the MLS under-23 league that is currently in the works.
My biggest takeaway from that was a community college professor just said Wikipedia is good. What?
It's not good for research papers, and the only exception is if you find a source at the end where it says references, you have to use that external source. Do not cite Wikipedia page on a college paper. Cite one of the Wikipedia page's sources. That is totally okay, because if it's just on a paper, they can't tell if it's from Wikipedia or not unless they do a Google search.
Right.
But anyway, the point is though, and I'll admit, some of my preparation for these podcasts, I do look at the Wikipedia pages because it is clean, it is organized, it's easy to find information, and it's just one of many sources I'm checking. So I do check that all the information is accurate.
Definitely. And I have a quick answer to this, and then we'll see if you have anything. The relationship's over. I mean, it's evident. It's over. This is like your girlfriend giving away the stuff that you gave her for Christmas to another guy. So
Alexa, play Lucid Dreams.
Yeah.
That was
no, all girls are the same, all right? My Juice WRLD, all right?
Married?
No, but this
the song title.
Yeah. No,
okay, nice save there, Favi.
Come on. No, but
he's probably gonna edit this out.
No, it's cool. It's just a Juice WRLD song, nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, I know. It's a song title. You're good, Taylor Swift, don't worry.
No, but yeah, this relationship's over. Will, do you have anything to say about it? I mean, Oakland Roots, right? That's gonna be our goal.
Yeah.
We'll see. I'm all in this idea that this is Matias Almeida's show, and if he wants to be affiliated with somebody, he'll be affiliated with them. I don't know if it's a GM thing or a new head coach, because I mean we've gone through several head coaches in like the last 5-10 years. We've gone through several head coaches, so these bridges that we build can easily fall every time we get a new coach. Right. I mean, if a new coach thinks that, why would I even bother with this Reno team? Like, we're not going to even think about it. Then, I mean, sometimes that's how it could be.
Look, I think the Earthquakes are going to break the relationship with Reno just to make one with the Oakland Roots, because the Oakland Roots can help market their team in their area better than Reno could help them financially, if that makes any sense.
Right. I think there's no guarantees, though, because we don't necessarily know what Oakland Roots' motive in that relationship with San Jose Earthquakes. It could be a bit of a kind of mini rivalry-ish, or it could be they just focus on themselves for a bit. But it is possible that just as San Jose Earthquakes hopped from Sacramento Republic to Reno, that they could hop from Reno to Oakland. And who knows, maybe in 30 years – we get a USL team called the Santa Rosa Snoopies, and then they become because Charles Schultz was born in Santa Rosa, the writer of the Peanuts.
Well, but we got to talk to Knott's Berry about that franchise, okay? Or we got to talk to Cedar Farm.
Maybe the San Jose Earthquakes are becoming the Bachelorette of MLS, trying to have every different team in California and Nevada be their affiliate at some point.
I'm going to give Oakland Roots the last rose, okay? Because they're the best financially. They're the best marketing team, and they market to people in my area. So come Oakland Roots, come receive this rose. I hope you're not mad at me for going on dates with other teams, but we're here.
Let's all right, Favi, you can take the next two questions.
All right, so Devin on Twitter, if we cannot play LAFC, how good are the San Jose Earthquakes' chances to reach the playoffs with just Seattle left on the schedule? Could an extra rest give them better chance of getting a good result? Will, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, like Ivan just said, it is a good point that if we don't play, we might have a good chance. I mean, a little more rested against Seattle, maybe have a different game plan to actually steal a game against Seattle. But I mean, we kind of talked about this a little bit earlier about how, it's possibly better not to play at all than to actually play, and if we lose. So, I mean, it's like I said, now we're going into that whole thing. If we look at the person that helped us with all this mathematical stuff,
Right.
I mean, so at the end of the day, I mean, it does help us a little bit if we do not play, and but it's going to be tough though to get a result against Seattle anyway. So like I said, it's
Right.
just who knows. I don't know. You guys can give me another thought, maybe.
Ivan?
Yeah, I think a lot of times you go to the rest versus rust debate, but the rust part isn't really applicable because it feels like they've played 100 games these last few months. Like, there's no way that this team is rusty. I think if you do have to put all your eggs in one basket, you put all your chips to the center of the table for this game at CenturyLink Field against the reigning MLS Cup champions and one of the favorites to win the title here, then you got to go for it, and you got to hope that you use that extra time to heal up, rest up, you study your opponent more, you practice a bit more, and there's no excuses. Like, regardless of whether you're playing Seattle Sounders or LA Galaxy 2, like, you got to go out there and play your best soccer and get the result to get the job done. The goal of this season is to make the playoffs. It's not to come close and miss out at the last second, because that already happened in 2019 with the same core. So you do have to adapt to the situation regardless of what happens. Those are the benefits of the LAFC game being canceled. You lose out on 3 points you can earn, but you also lose out on 3 points that you could lose, and your goal difference hurting and your points per game hurting.
Right.
So it is a balancing act. I think the Quakes, it's all up to them. Their fate is in their own hands. I'm not going to say that they're going to have a better or worse shot at making the playoffs just playing Seattle versus playing both Seattle and LAFC, because even though they beat LAFC once, these are both really good teams.
Yeah, exactly. And I think playing Seattle is hard either way, like Will said. Having rest or having no rest, it's going to be a really hard game to overcome either way. The next question comes from Matalio on Twitter. What the hell? Referencing Minnesota United transfer. At what point do we rotate the starters a bit? Again,
so we already covered the Minnesota part. We just felt like that was an apt response, and that's what I thought when I first saw the tweet too. I'm like, how did this happen? So Matalio, like, we understand where you're coming from.
Yeah, and then when do we rotate the starters a bit? I'm going to quickly answer this one. Never. This is a Matias Almeida show. He likes to keep the same guys in that have won and that have put out results for him. So unless there's an injury or a card accumulation,
suspension,
we're going to see the same squad.
Yeah, the time to rotate the team was definitely earlier in the season when you were adjusting to this every 3-game schedule, where you were trying to figure out, okay, which of these players can we rely on in the long haul of this weird season. But now you've established, these are our best choice starters. These are the players that we can rely on the bench. And then everyone else, all hands on deck if necessary. Keyword if necessary, though. So
yeah,
for the rest of the season, everyone's roles are kind of pigeonholed at this point. But in the off season, things get reassessed.
Okay. And then our next question is Eric Tran on Twitter. Can San Jose Earthquakes rely on Reno to San Jose pipeline if Minnesota can make moves like that? We'll start with Will. We kind of gone over this a bit, but Will, if you want to give a quick answer to that.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I feel like we've kind of gone over this a lot now. I think we're kind of just at a point where the Reno San Jose thing just doesn't seem like it's really happening anymore. I mean, I just think, Reno's clearly moved on. San Jose's kind of clearly moved on, and now teams are seeing that, they're paying attention to the USL. And Minnesota got three, at least one really good player. I mean, that meant a lot to Favi and Kevin.
Yeah.
And the other ones are just going to add on to be additions to help their team out.
Yeah, man.
I guess Adrian Heath has an ESPN Plus account.
Hey, Will, do you want to make that quick drive up to Reno for us and touch the grass one last time? Maybe kick the ball around one last time. Just before it's over comes, just before that happens, because it's happening. Just touch
and then
the grass
afterwards, buy yourself something nice from Circus.
Yeah. And then before Ian Russell comes out and tells you it's not you, it's me. Please get a picture. All right.
Yeah, I'll make a whole vlog of it, guys. Don't worry.
All right. But I think the solution, though, is you gotta loan your players. It's as simple as that. Chelsea, they aren't just signing any random player from Vitesse. They loan their players to Vitesse, and then they decide whether they want to use them or not. And unfortunately, in Chelsea's case, or unfortunately for the Chelsea youngsters' case, 90% of them, the answer is usually no, and they're stuck in living out of the suitcase for a few years. But in the San Jose Earthquakes case, if Reno's not going to happen for you, then there are so many other USL teams you can loan them to. Loan them out to the Loyal. Loan them out to Birmingham, to Louisville, to El Paso, to Tulsa. Like, you don't have to be shoehorned into Reno if you think that the Reno Earthquakes affiliation is going south. So you just got to make sure that you have your core of like 22 to 24 players. You give them an opportunity to play whenever possible, but everyone buys in the rules. And then everyone else that is in those other roster spots, you send them out on loan to a place where they get playing time, whether it's USL, whether maybe even Canadian Premier League is an option.
Right.
Or even somewhere else. I think there was a player, I forget for what club, but it was an MLS club. It might have been Vancouver or Montreal, one of those two, that loaned a player to Serie B in Italy. So there are options out there. Soccer is a global sport, and every league has something to offer and could be the right place for the right player.
All right. And the next
this one's for Will.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Will.
Yes.
Another long one, unfortunately. Sorry.
Yes. Vega. When I first read it, I was like, "Oh, Daniel Vega." Vega from Twitter. Vega from Twitter asks, "I'd like a deeper dive into the recent Reno signings. I mean, we've really
gone over that.
Yeah, I think we definitely got over that. It seems like fans are not happy that we didn't sign them, but would they be a good fit? Would they be a good fit for San Jose, or would it make sense to sign? Would it make sense to sign them, especially given that Kevin Pardita had already played with San Jose and didn't stick? My guess is that Almeida / Fornelli already have a transfer plan and just needed the money from Fisher to execute it. Hopefully, Fisher has committed that cash.
And there's a cross fingers emoji there that I copied from the DM he sent us for that question. I'll just do a little short and sweet here that I think any player that plays for Reno, because Ian Russell and Matias Almeida have similar coaching philosophies, has the potential to fit at the San Jose Earthquakes. But that doesn't necessarily mean that every USL player is going to succeed in the MLS level. And it doesn't necessarily mean that what San Jose Earthquakes does is going to be indicative of what Reno does either. So I think we just have to hope that Almeida and Fornelli have considered their options. And, there's a phrase, old news. I mean, no, it's no news is good news, which in this case, the San Jose Earthquakes, in terms of transfers, have had nothing but good news.
Wait, isn't it bad news is always good news?
What? No, that wouldn't make sense.
No, because then, bad news is good press.
Yeah, exactly. But anyway, the point is, we do know that the players that are in charge, the people that are in charge for a reason. We do have to give them that benefit of the doubt. I know I've said that a few times, and it's probably getting repetitive, but we do have to take into consideration that it just wasn't meant to be. And the next question, we got a few more left here. So FPD San Jose on Twitter wanted us to analyze the Quakes' chances of making the playoffs and roster analysis and potential turnaround for next year. And this will lead into the other question we got from Omar Solorzano from Facebook, who asked, whose contracts are up at the end of the season? Who are we keeping and who are we letting go? So I took the liberty of checking transfermarket.us and seeing where the contract situations were. Keep in mind that, especially when it comes to MLS, some of this information could be faulty. Like, they still don't have Jackson Ewell's renewed contract taken into account, but these are the ones that made sense. Like, these are the players who are out of contract. So very quickly, I have Bersano, who I said let go because we already have 3 other goalkeepers that we could use in Marcinkowski, Vega as a backup veteran, and then Ochoa as a backup developing. Emi Ochoa is another person whose contract is up at the end of the year, which kind of surprised me because he's really young and I thought he already signed a contract. But that might also be an error on transfer market. But in case it is his contract that's up, I'd say extend, and he's someone you want to go on loan. And maybe you use the super draft if there's someone who's a good goalkeeper you can have as a third choice or something. And Eric Calvillo, I think you renew him. He should stay. Paul Marie, he's one that I could see him staying. I could see him leaving. Gilbert Fuentes, I think you got to extend. And there's a bit of a logjam in midfield, especially with Calvillo ahead of him in the pecking order. So I would want him loaned out next year too. Shea Salinas, definitely extend. And Wando, it's up to him, of course. He's got the key to the city. So if he retires or not, that'll determine. Any objections or thoughts on this assessment?
Nope, I agree 100%.
Okay.
Yeah, I can't say I agree with all that as well.
All right. And FPDSJ, I know we kind of briefly went over your question and we talked about it earlier. So if you want a more in-depth analysis on the Quakes' chances of making the playoffs, like I said, Quake74 from Discord provided us this incredible and detailed document that we're going to put on the description of this podcast that will answer this question better than we can. So hopefully that will suffice.
Yeah,
and then,
the short and sweet, 80% chance of making the playoffs.
Which sounds pretty damn good. I mean, 80% is a B-, so okay.
Yeah.
So we got a few more questions here. Favi will ask the next 2, and then we'll get the last one after that.
Yeah, definitely. We'll try to wrap this up a little faster. So if you guys have been hanging on, thank you. Jeff Vikas from Twitter asked, the biggest thing top of the mind right now with Reno, MLS signings, does Jesse and the FO undervalue MLS talent? I'm going to quickly answer this one. It's evident throughout all of the transfers that Jesse Fioranelli has made that he undervalues MLS talent and USL talent. The only USL talent that we've brought in was Daniel Vega. And look how that kind of played out. He definitely undervalues it or is not well guided to that type of talent pool. Do you guys have any objections?
No, I think you're completely spot on, and like the proof is in the pudding there that like there's a dearth in interest in signing players in general, but there's also a dearth in interest in signing domestic players, which is a shame because that's a big source of talent for any league. You know, it costs a lot of money and personnel and resources to scout players all around the world, which, you know, if your club, like a Champions League level club, that's not as much of a problem, but still, and especially in COVID times, if you're based in a domestic league like the USA and Canada, where mostly USA, Canada, you guys have been doing a better job than us, and your political leader is competent. So
Shots
the point
fired.
It is a complicated situation scouting abroad and moving players in and out with COVID right now. So you definitely don't want to close the door on that possibility. And regarding Daniel Vega as well, how does it say about him, or maybe it says more about the organization that they were able to find a replacement, that Tampa Bay Rowdies is in the USL championship final without him. So they clearly don't miss him.
Yeah, definitely. Will?
Yeah, no, I'm totally in agreement with you, Favi.
Okay. Andy
Yep.
from Twitter asks, on a scale of 1 to 10, how frustrated are you that the other MLS teams are signing players from Reno? Will?
I'm going with 1. I mean, why are we so shocked? I mean, yes. I mean, they signed players from Reno. Oh my goodness. We as Earthquakes, we don't sign anybody. So why are we just because they're our affiliate, we're like, what?
You know what this feels like? This feels like your high school bully just took the girl that you had dibs on, all right? This is why it hurts us so much, right? Not only do they beat us up after every 5 o'clock, okay, they take the girl that we liked, all right, or that at least that we thought we could have if we wanted her, right?
Your school went to 5 o'clock?
No, or
he was
2
just
o'clock.
making
Yeah,
3
2
o'clock.
o'clock, 2
Yeah,
or 3.
Yeah,
You know, I
right.
stayed till
Bullies
after,
aren't that patient.
yeah, I stayed till detention, you know, afterwards. So, you know, for me, it was 5 o'clock every day.
All right, but I'd say it's marginally annoying. Maybe I'll give it a 4 or 5 because we've already talked about the reasons throughout this podcast. But I'd say it's more annoying. Like it's probably like an 8 or 9 in the sense that Minnesota United are making signings and looking in places that San Jose Earthquakes should be making in order to make any sort of signings. And it's just been a dearth of signings. We are the Tottenham Hotspur of this league, not making signings for ages. So, and then even they have started making signings again. So it's really annoying. And we'll see just how far this group can take us. And maybe they continue to play well, and maybe we'll be okay without signings for a little while longer, but who knows?
Wait, so we're the Tottenham Hotspurs of the MLFs. That means we're going to sign our old players back? Can we get Simon Dawkins back? MPG back? Let's do it. Let's sign him.
No.
Let's bring him back. Jameer Hika. Let's do it. Innocent and Magura on the cheap. I am down.
You're just going to start naming every single player that left us.
Yeah, right.
Oh yeah, Adam Yan. Oh yeah.
No,
yeah.
you know, he's too good for us. He's not coming back. He's in Atlanta.
I would
right?
be okay with.
He's winning goal of the week. He's winning goal of the week with Atlanta. All right.
Fatih Lash, maybe.
Yeah, Fatih Lash.
All right, let's get this last question, guys.
Yeah.
Let's get a quick one here. Michael McCracken from Twitter asks, will JT be the number 1 goalkeeper in 2021? I think we all can say yes.
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 Sí. En español.
Sí. Oui.
Any way you could say yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, unless someone, they're not going to sign another goalkeeper that's better than JT Marcinkowski.
What if Earthquakes get like Neuer, though,
Yeah, right.
Or Iker Casillas comes out of retirement for the Quakes. It might happen.
Memo.
So once again, we want to thank our sponsor, Roughneck Scarves, official scarf supplier to MLS, USL, and US Soccer. Get custom scarves for your group or team at roughneckscarves.com. We may take you guys up on that offer. And also, tired of the same old uniforms and cookie-cutter templates from Nike and Adidas? Always. If you're looking for a unique, complete custom kit for your youth club, Sunday League squad, adult, pro team, charity, or underwater basket weaving team, Icarus FC can help you create the kit of your dreams at an affordable price. It's like customizing your own player on 2K or FIFA, but in real life. So let them help you design your new custom kit today at IcarusFC.com. Maybe I'll ask my brother, he's a graphic designer, to help us out with a kit idea. But that'll do it for tonight, boys. This was a lot of fun. Yeah. And we're going to do it again next week. Depending on, we'll know soon enough with the LAFC game if it'll happen. But we also have an interview with Marvel Wing coming up too, and he works with Ted Ramey, and we had him on the last interview. Ted Ramey has nothing but praise for Marvel Wing, so I know it's going to be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and it's former Quakes player Marvel Wynn. He retired because of a heart problem that was found in his heart. But really quickly, if we don't have a game, we're still going to have a podcast. We'll go over some of I guess a prediction for Seattle. We'll go ahead and do
a preview.
a preview. Really quickly, guys, if we do play LAFC, what is your score preview? We'll go really quick because this is the end. So, Will, what do you think the score prediction is if we play?
It's going to be my prediction and hope, since we need this, another 2-1 crazy win.
I'll go smash and grab 1-0 win. I think that this defense is starting to play very well, so they can keep a clean sheet against LAFC, but it's just going to take one moment of magic / luck / shithousery to get that one goal, to get the 3 points. So
yeah, I'm going to go with 2-2. We're going to get a draw out of it if we do play. But
any sort of result will help.
Yeah, exactly. And that wraps it up for us, guys. We are Tectonic Takes. You can follow me at The Only Quaker, Will at BP_Schneider, and Ivan at Ivan Ornelas 2 on Twitter. And we love your support, guys. Please feel free to talk to us. Let us know if you have any questions, anything
Happy
that you
Halloween.
want to talk about. Yeah, happy Halloween. Stay safe out there. Wear a mask under your mask.
Cultures are not costumes, and do not slut shame. Costumes are not consent. Be nice to people. Get some Skittles and M&Ms. Do all that fun stuff.
You're telling me I can't dress up as a gaucho, a Uruguayan gaucho? Come on, man.
No, you can be your own culture, but no blackface.
Let's go, Quakes.
Let's go, Quakes. Yeah, we're going to playoffs.
Yep. If you guys want to follow us on Patreon, we are available there too. And that's it for us. Go Quakes.
Quakes.
Let's go.